Guys, I know that people are very passionate about this subject on both sides. My only request as you watch this video is that you try to set aside emotions, family ties, personal experiences, and take a serious look through the lens of objectivity alone. If you disagree with the assertions I'm making here, please use logic in the comments section to state your opposing position. I am not and never will be into censorship. So even if you use a lame-brained argument to make your case, like, my brother Bobby was in law enforcement for 21 years and he is a good cop and you can't say nothing about that. Or, hey, I am a cop and I know I'm good. This is extremely offensive. Or those people who say, well, let's see who you call next time you're in trouble. Look, even if you choose to use these unsubstantiated and emotionally charged statements, it won't be deleted. But I want to save you the embarrassment of posting something stupid. Now, I'd say the majority of people out there believe that most cops are good. Almost nowhere can you find public discourse on police misconduct without references to a few bad apples on one hand or exceptions to the rule on the other. So when I say there's no good cops, I do not mean that there are no cops who do good things. Such a stupid claim would easily be disproven using examples, like the Texas sheriff who subverts state and federal law by refusing to jail people for marijuana possession, or the cops who delivered Christmas gifts instead of tickets. Although let's be honest, if you're delivering Christmas presents to some people after having stolen the money to buy those gifts from others, this could hardly be considered as a good deed. And it's certain that not all police use unnecessary force. So why do I claim that there can be no such thing as a good cop? We don't need to enumerate what portion of cops appear to be good, or even listen to someone's anecdote about his Uncle Charlie, who they could swear up and down that he's allegedly a good cop. All we need to consider is this. Number one, a cop receives his pay from forcefully extracted stolen resources by a criminal cartel who holds a monopoly on force. That cartel is known as government, or the state. Number two, a cop's job is to enforce the arbitrary laws of that cartel, all of them. Number three, many of the laws are manifestly unjust, and some are even cruel and outright wicked. Therefore, every cop has to voluntarily agree to participate in a criminal organization that holds a monopoly on force, benefit from ongoing acts of theft, and act as an enforcer of laws that are manifestly unjust or even cruel and wicked. So based on their very decision to voluntarily participate in such crime, there are no good cops. And for those who would object at this point and argue that taxation, the very lifeblood that keeps the cartel alive, is not theft, well, the burden of proof rests on you to objectively prove that taking something from someone without their willingness to freely consent isn't theft. Because theft by any other name, like taxation, is still theft, even when it's initiated by that magical entity called government. Now, if you disagree with this, leave your objective disagreement in the comments below. Guys, everyone who's honest with themselves has to admit, if a civilian went around doing what cops do, pulling people over for arbitrary reasons, stopping people in the street, breaking into homes because someone possessed something that person didn't want the homeowner to possess, kidnapping, perpetual theft, that civilian who is performing the same actions as law enforcement would be arrested by the cops. So if you're a cop, you've agreed that it's okay to derive your pay from the forced extraction of funds from the working class, aka taxation. Therefore, being a cop by its very nature endorses theft. There's no way around this, guys. Just being a cop is inherently immoral on that one point alone. And this doesn't even scratch the surface. Now, a great irony begins to emerge when you understand the simple truth that cops exist by a seemingly magical edict that places a monopoly on force through the theft of the populace. And here's the irony. A cop will carry out a seemingly noble act by arresting and imprisoning a man who has stolen from another, while at the same time, the organization he works for is currently in the business of stealing from the people the officer claims to protect. Can there even be a greater irony? Another incredible irony begins to form when you consider what happens when a cop arrests you for transgressing the arbitrary edicts of psychopathic, power-hungry politicians. And that is this. Shortly after your arrest by a person in a blue costume with a shiny badge and gun, you were then taken before another costume-wearing state-funded agent in a black robe, the high priest of this magical governmental religious system called a judge. Has anyone ever asked themselves, how can I possibly have a fair trial if the judge works for and with the very people who just attacked and arrested me? Guys, you can't. One state agent, the cop, invades your world, tells you that you broke one of their psychopath's commands, steals your money through something called a fine or a ticket, kidnaps you and forces you to appear before a judge who's another state agent, who then decides how much you'll pay or how long you gotta spend in one of their state-funded cages. So let me ask you, what's the distinction between a kidnapping ring and the police? Or between the police and the mafia? The key distinction is that the police have a legal monopoly. Providing a competing service is illegal, and the police, the beneficiaries of this monopoly privilege, are the enforcers. They forestall competition at gunpoint, like the mob, but under the color of law. Take Ferguson, for example, where police stopped Oath Keepers from protecting private businesses from looters, even though police were unable to do the job themselves. So if you reject the mafia, then you should reject the police, just as you presumably reject other criminal organizations that, as a part of their core mission, violates people's rights. You didn't vote for the police. They're not accountable to you in any meaningful way. You are not in any way morally obligated to consent to their jurisdiction over you. They're just one more gang out there, but with government approval. And the people buy into this stuff. What's wrong with us? So guys, it's not the apples, it's the barrel. This argument over whether police are good is not about the actions of individual cops. Anyone can argue about the details of 900,000 individuals doing their jobs, some with the best of intentions. This is about a system cops voluntarily participate in, a system that both perpetrates and perpetuates injustice, and one that violently eliminates competitors who would both respect and protect individual rights. Guys, thank you so much for subscribing to my channel. If you want to support the work I do here, head on over to my store and pick up one of these hard-hitting, conversation-starting shirts that are pretty much guaranteed to provoke thought and spark dialogue as we continue to educate people about what's actually going on in the world today and how these issues directly affect us as individuals. You'll find the link to the store in the description below, and you can use the 5-off promo code to get your discount. Until next time, remember what Thomas Edison said. Opportunity is missed by most people because it's dressed in overalls and looks like work. Let's roll up our sleeves and do the work that it's going to take to change this world. I'll see you guys in the next video.